We begin with breaking news. Sources are confirming to Fox News that National Security Advisor Mike Waltz is out, as well as his deputy Alex Wong. Additional names are likely to come, we're told, and we expect to hear from the president on this soon. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus.
Criminal complaint says Judge Dugan knew ICE agents were going to arrest an undocumented migrant after his hearing, so she decided to step in.
You dismiss people who you believe are leaking classified information. Why would it surprise anybody, Brian, if those very same people keep leaking to the very same reporters whatever information they think they can have to try to sabotage the agenda of the president or the secretary? So once a leaker, always a leaker, often a leaker.
Because they abused
economic alarm bells. The U.S. economy contracting by 0.3%.
A contraction in the economy, first that we have seen in years, in fact.
America's economy is shrinking.
All the shelves are going to be open. Well, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, you know? And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more.
Provided that they leave and then come back through what he said would be a legal process.
And the president is not going to tolerate that.
It's that time again, time for everybody's favorite family game show, Hack of the Week. We've got an amazing new champion. She's existential. She's
completely abused.
She's outside the box. She dominates the room and no one else can ever question her integrity. She's number one at the White House. She's the press secretary. And she is amazing.
We are complying with all court orders.
There's no kinds of hacks that could possibly be matched by this girl. Let's go to the tape.
With all of this work being done to make America great again, we continue to see a positive response from the American public. A brand new poll published from the Daily Mail and JL Partners this morning found that President Trump's approval rating is at an all-time high. That's because the president could not care less about the American public.
That's right.
I think it's atrocious. The president made it clear to Harvard, follow federal law, no longer break Title VI, which was passed by Congress to ensure no student can be discriminated against on the basis of race, and you will receive federal funding. Unfortunately, Harvard, Democrat Party, has not taken the president or the administration's demands seriously. All the president is asking, don't break federal law, and then you can have your federal funding. I think the president is also begging a good question. More than $2 billion out the door to Harvard when they have a more than $50 billion endowment. Why are the American taxpayers subsidizing a university that has billions of dollars in the bank already? Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. To follow up on something that you just said, why do Ivy League schools get so much federal funding?
I have an answer for that question.
It's a very good question, and it's a question the president has obviously raised in his discussions and negotiations with the modern-day Democrat Party.
Harvard gets money for all the scientific research they do. That's right, we help fund Harvard while they're curing cancer and leprosy and 1,000 other diseases.
And maybe if they did, they'd see a bit higher approval ratings right now. Thanks for being here.
Harvard does science. Hard to believe, I know, but that's why we bring you this game. It's Hack of the Week.
Was only supposed to be used in times of war or storm or destruction, which the president promised and delivered on, and so we will continue to focus on. Jennifer.
One on tariffs and one on Russia. Can you give us any sort of an update on which deals are in hand or are close? Which countries are reaching a deal on tariffs? And then on Russia, can you give us an update on what the agreement was with Russia? The president yesterday said that he thinks we'll be seeing some very good deals very soon. Can you talk a little bit about what Russia agreed to?
Sure.
Deals are ridiculous. There's not going to be any deals.
I don't want to get ahead of our United States Trade Ambassador and Secretary of Commerce, the Secretary of Treasury, all the great individuals who are working incredibly hard to cut these good trade deals. And the president's deeply involved in this as well.
I tell you what, I'm not questioning her integrity. I just think she might be stupid.
There have been many talks with countries taken advantage of. We've had more than 15 deals, pieces of paper put on the table, proposals, mind-boggling, that are actively being considered. And as we've said consistently, more than 75 countries have reached out. So there's a lot of work to do. We very much understand that, but we do believe that we can announce some deals very soon by the previous administration.
And then on Russia, can you say, did Russia agree to anything with Special Envoy Steve Witkoff?
I don't want to get ahead of those negotiations as well. What I can tell you is that they were a productive conversation was had.
How absurd. Russia hasn't agreed to anything. She knows that. They're not going to because they don't have to.
The president came out swinging and dancing to celebrate 100 days in office.
Trump had so much fun tonight.
He had so much fun.
He seems like he's enjoying himself.
Clearly, he was having a good time.
You can tell when he's on stage, he's having so much fun. He's dancing.
That famous YMCA dance.
It's dance time.
They've worked hard and had fun. Isn't that the pursuit of happiness?
As the presidential envoy Steve Witkoff said last night, he believes that Russia wants to end this war, and the president believes that as well. There is incentive for Russia to end this war.
Trump has already said that he is basically going to give half of Ukraine to Russia.
The priorities.
And
completely abused our legal system. Many of these paroled individuals were then given
reestablish economic ties because that was the plan all from the beginning.
And perhaps that could be economic partnerships with the United States. But
apparently it's cool now, just in spite of international sanctions, just to totally blow them off and tell Russia that, hey man, what do you got there? Want to make a deal? In spite of all, he sold out America.
And the president and the presidential envoy Witkoff made that very clear to the Russians. Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. And I also want to thank your press office for releasing that information that you cited up there regarding the ICE arrests of the last couple of days. And I have them right here, but what I might ask is, why not release the same information for those who were deported to El Salvador?
Well, first of all, that information was released by the Department of Homeland Security. The individuals on the flights to El Salvador are foreign terrorists, and those are counterterrorism operations. They are much different than the arrests and final order of removals that you see on a day-to-day basis that law enforcement agents are conducting around the country.
Oh, it's terrorism. Does that sound familiar? I remember back in the old days, George W. Bush used to say the exact same thing, and man, he was a hack. But nothing's got up on these people. They straight up don't give a damn.
That information was not, to that detail, was not released by DHS though.
I just told you the reason. It was a counterterrorism operation, a deportation of foreign terrorists, not illegal criminals who have been convicted of heinous crimes living in our American communities. Two different things. Foreign terrorist, illegal immigrant criminal, two different things, two different definitions. You should look them up. Christian, go ahead.
All you gotta do is call them terrorists, and then, hey, man, off to your free vacation to El Salvador. A foreign prison overseas. My goodness, being tried in a foreign court sounds a lot like the exact same thing we threw off old George III for. Someone needs to read the Declaration of Independence. They'll never do that. They don't read.
Of course, you have the Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot. And it's something very special to our country.
And it means a lot, and it's something very special to our country. It means a lot, and it's something very special to our country.
Does the president support raising the corporate tax rate to pay for all of these other tax cuts he wants to see move through Congress?
Look, I've seen this idea proposed, I've heard this idea discussed, but I don't believe the president has made a determination on whether he supports it or not.
Corporate tax rates, my ass. There's no chance in hell she knows that. Corporate tax rates are going to go down, not up. Come on, hack, you can do better than that.
But unfortunately, I don't have any updates to share, but it's a very important matter, and certainly we can check in. Sure.
Hi, how concerned is the president that a federal judge could hold a Trump administration official in contempt of court for defying deportation orders?
Not believe actually that a judge really did that. They're deranged is all I can think of. I cannot believe. I think some of these judges think they are beyond and above the law. And
when an Amarillo judge tries to ban all of the abortion pills all across the country, they say it's a great day for America. But when a judge says that regular people have to get due process,
there goes another one.
They think that it's activist judges. Now that's some hackery bullshit.
sending a very strong message today. If you are harboring a fugitive, we don't care who you are. If you are helping hide one, if you are giving a TDA member guns, anyone who is illegally in this country, we will come after you and we will prosecute.
We are complying with all court orders.
Well, that's interesting. You're complying, are you? I find that fascinating. The Supreme Court said otherwise.
So I see what you're trying to do there with that question, but we're very confident that every action taken by this administration is within the confines of the law, and we continue to comply with the court's orders, and you have seen that, and the president made that clear yesterday in the Oval Office with President Bukele. Sure.
Thanks, Carla. Could you, just going back to El Salvador, could you just explain to us a little bit more about the legal basis on which you may be able to send US citizens to prison there? I know you said that President Trump is looking at it, but can you explain to us a little bit more about how that might be possible?
We're looking at it, and when I have more for you to share, I certainly will. Sure.
Still going off the El Salvador questions, yesterday in the Oval Office, administration officials made it very clear that El Salvador is responsible for Mr. Abrego Garcia, yet El Salvador's president said we're not going to do anything with him. So my question is, who is responsible for this man and where he's going to end up?
Well, no. First of all, President Bukele said that he is not going to smuggle a foreign terrorist back into the United States of America, as many in this room in the Democrat Party seemingly want him to do.
Oh, you liberals, I tell you what, it's not just liberals, bitch, it's not just Democrats, it's also, wait for it, the Supreme Court. You're in direct violation of the Supreme Court's order, and that's because you don't believe in the Constitution or the rule of law. No wonder you're not interested in giving anybody due process. Only for you. That's some hackery bullshit, man, well done.
Abrego Garcia was a foreign terrorist. He is an MS-13 gang member. He was engaged in human trafficking. He illegally came into our country. And so deporting him back to El Salvador was always going to be the end result.
Everybody better get on board.
There is never going to be a world in which this is an individual who's going to live a peaceful life in Maryland, because he is a foreign terrorist and an MS-13 gang member. Not only have we confirmed that, President Bukele yesterday in the Oval Office confirmed that as well.
Only you made one mistake.
I'm not sure what is so difficult about this for everyone in the media to understand, and it's appalling, truly appalling, that there has been so much time covering this alleged human trafficker and this gang member, MS-13 gang member. It's truly striking to me. Jonathan.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, it's good to see you in here.
You too. The president has long said that it would be an abuse of power for a president to direct prosecutors to investigate him. Last week, President Trump explicitly directed the Justice Department to scrutinize Chris Krebs to see if it can find any evidence of criminal wrongdoing. How is that not an abuse of power to direct the Justice Department to look into an individual, a named individual?
Look, the president signed that executive order. It's the position of the president in this White House that it's well within his authority to do it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have signed it. And he signed it, and that's his policy.
Can you give us an update on what the president hopes to come from the next round of talks with Iran?
Sure. First, when it comes to Harvard, as I said, the president has been quite clear they must follow federal law. He also wants to see Harvard apologize, and Harvard should apologize for the egregious anti-Semitism that took place on their college campus against Jewish American students. There were professors who said that he had engaged in discriminatory behavior against Jewish students. Of course, you had the former president of the university saying bullying and harassment depends on the context. You also had an encampment on Harvard Yard that we all saw play out before the cameras. The university failed to impose formal discipline on any students for this anti-Semitic conduct violations, including the occupation of a campus building and the disruption of classes with bullhorns. president believes Harvard should apologize to its Jewish American students for allowing such egregious behavior. As for the tax-exempt status, I would defer you to the IRS for any updates. I do want to answer your question on Iran. Of course, the maximum pressure campaign on Iran continues, but as you know, the president has made it clear he wants to see dialogue and discussion with Iran while making his directive about Iran never being able to obtain a nuclear weapon quite clear.
Everybody better get on board because we're fixing to go to war with Iran. That's right. Anytime a Republican's having a bad go of it, you start a war in the Middle East. That's how Republicans stay in office. The same thing that got us all this bullshit. Terrorism and Guantanamo Bay, shipping people off in the dark of night. Hey, man, they're bringing back the old guard. Well hacked.
And the president spoke to the Sultan of Oman today, who helped facilitate these talks. I have a readout for all of you. He held a call with the Sultan of Oman today, and he thanked him for hosting the first direct meeting between the United States and Iran, and emphasized the need for Iran to end its nuclear program through negotiations. The two leaders also discussed the United States' ongoing operations against the Houthis and emphasized that the Houthis will pay a severe price until they end their attacks on maritime traffic in the Red Sea. As you know, an additional negotiation between Steve Witkoff and Iran's representative has been scheduled for Saturday. And since these are ongoing negotiations, I have nothing more to add on that. Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. When you said that the president said that Iran will never have nuclear weapons, is the focus on dismantling the entire nuclear program, or it just restricting enriched uranium or the missile program?
The president does not want to see Iran have a nuclear program. He does not want Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. He's been very clear about this.
Or was it?
Shelby, you have a seat today.
I know. Stole it.
Glad to see it.
Two quick ones on TikTok. First, is the president expecting to extend the TikTok ban that's now June 19th if China doesn't come to the table in time?
Well, June 19th is a long ways away, obviously. I think it's 2 months away. 2 months is a long time, and the Trump administration, as you have all seen, we work at Trump speed around here. We get a lot done, so definitely don't want to get ahead. The vice president continues to lead these negotiations and talks. The president's involved, and they're ongoing.
Oh, he completely gave in to China because that's what he was always going to do. China doesn't give a damn about you. And our little measly 3% of their take, they don't really give a damn about that either. They were going to hold on forever, and that's why Trump folded like a deck of cards.
The president previously said he'd consider reducing tariffs on China in order to get a TikTok deal done. Is that option still on the table?
Look, the president has made his position on China quite clear, although I do have an additional statement that he just shared with me in the Oval Office. The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. There's no difference between China and any other country except they are much larger. And China wants what we have, what every country wants what we have. Canadians would benefit greatly from becoming the 51st state of the United States of America. As for autos and auto parts, I don't have anything to read out for you there, but I think the point the president was making is flexibility, and he has flexibility when it comes to negotiations and talks.
Even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang, and then they looked, and on his knuckles he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshopped. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry. But you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Does the White House, have they seen these videos? Do you guys have a response to that?
I have seen the videos. I'm not sure who made the video.
Do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
And you think it was Photoshopped? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir. I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't
Take a look
there,
at the
but
photograph.
they're there now, right?
No,
but
they're in your picture.
Terry,
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
Well, we'll take a look at that.
It's you do
We'll take
such
a
a
look.
disservice.
We'll take a look at
Why
that,
don't you
sir.
just say, yes, he does.
Or if we can verify the authenticity. But whoever made it clearly does not see the potential of the American.
MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to
Terry,
move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture. We'll
And you think it
agree
was
to disagree.
Photoshop? Well,
Here we go. Here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had
Fair enough.
MS-13.
He did have.
I guess that's what they call flexibility. Hackability, flexibility, I guess it's interchangeable. Just like the president that she blows, Donald Trump's gonna throw somebody under the bus real soon. That's gonna be Pete Hegseth. You better all get on board. She'll be explaining in just a couple of days why Pete Hegseth just had to step aside.
You dismiss people who you believe are leaking classified information. Why would it surprise anybody, Brian, if those very same people keep leaking to the very same reporters whatever information they think they can have to try to sabotage the agenda of the president or the secretary? So once a leaker, always a leaker, often a leaker. I don't have time for leakers. I don't have time for the hoax press that peddles old stories from disgruntled employees. Disgruntled former employees are peddling things to try to save their ass.
Did you?
And ultimately, that's it's not going to work.
Right now, it's a full-throated defense. Well, not from the president. Apparently, he's going to go on an interview tonight with Goldberg from The Atlantic, the very guy that was on the Signal chat. Now that is how you hack. I'm Zechariah Lone Star Liberal. Join us next time for Hack of the Week.
A lot of people come to Washington and they just play the game. And it's you punch their ticket and get along to go along. And, start doing Meet the Press and go into the Council on Foreign Relations and spending time with all the new cocktail sipping crowd. That's not why I'm here.
That being? You seem to have mistaken me for some kind of a cunt.
The safety of the American people is too important to settle for anything less. On that note, the Democrat and media outrage over the deportation of Abrego Garcia, an MS-13 El Salvadorian illegal alien criminal who is hiding in Maryland, has been nothing short of despicable. Based on the sensationalism of many of the people in this room, you would think we deported a candidate for Father of the Year. That's because, unfortunately, many in this country care more about this quote-unquote Maryland father, a legal alien MS-13 gang member, than a Maryland mother and an American citizen who was brutally murdered at the hands of a different illegal alien. Of course, once again, the president is fulfilling another key promise. We'll enhance our ability to detect, interdict, and prosecute the illegal aliens, criminal gangs, and terrorists who were able to invade our country without consequence for the past 4 years under the Biden administration. It will also bolster our defenses against fentanyl and other dangerous narcotics that have been poisoning our communities. With all of this work being done to make America great again, we continue to see a positive response from the American public. Of the American people is too important to settle for anything less.
Since you have been in office, President Trump, your DOJ agencies have seized more than 22 million fentanyl pills, 3,400 kilos of fentanyl since you've been your last 100 days, which saved, are you ready for this, media? 258 million lives.
Okay. Intercepting fentanyl, fantastic.
Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. Could you, just going back to El Salvador, could you just explain to us a little bit more about the legal basis on which you may be able to send US citizens to prison there? I know you said that President Trump is looking at it, but can you explain to us a little bit more about how that might be possible?
We're looking at it, and when I have more for you to share, I certainly will.
Saving 258 million lives? Bondi is saying that if not for Trump, about 75% of Americans would be dead.
Interdict. On the topic of Social Security, I have some news before I let you all go. Later this afternoon, the president will be signing a presidential memorandum aimed at stopping illegal aliens and other ineligible people from obtaining Social Security Act benefits. The memorandum will direct the administration to ensure ineligible aliens are not receiving funds from the Social Security Act programs. It will expand the Social Security Administration's fraud prosecutor program to at least 50 U.S. attorney offices and establishes a Medicare and Medicaid fraud prosecution program in 15 U.S. attorney offices. The memorandum will also require the Social Security Administration Inspector General to investigate earning reports for individuals aged 100 or older.
And all the shelves are going to be open. Well, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, you know? And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more.
These taxpayer-funded benefits should be only for eligible taxpayers. And President Biden should think about what he did in his last term, which is allow tens of millions of illegal people into our country, many of whom were fraudulently receiving these benefits. So you'll hear from the president on that later.
And there you go again, making up lies and just saying bullshit. Not a single person in America is getting Social Security benefits who is an illegal alien. That's not a thing. It would be impossible for them to apply. You're just making that up.
Wow, check out Mr. Rogers over here. I can't believe in a span of 100 days, we went from we will all be richer than we've ever imagined to everyone gets $2, all right?
But that's how we do. I guess Donald Trump's a hack too. Impressive. We're gonna sign a thing today that absolutely means nothing. Hack on, girl. Hack on.
In other news, President Trump is turning America into a manufacturing superpower again. Yesterday, there was a monumental announcement by NVIDIA, one of the largest companies in the world. This is just the latest example. For the first time ever, chip-making giant NVIDIA will produce AI supercomputers entirely in the United States, as part of its pledge to produce $50 billion worth of AI infrastructure in our country over the next 4 years. With their manufacturing partners, they have commissioned more than 1 million square feet of manufacturing space to build and test NVIDIA Blackwell chips in the great state of Arizona and AI supercomputers in the great state of Texas. NVIDIA's founder and CEO Jensen Huang touted how the engines of the world's AI infrastructure are being built in the United States for the first time. This is the Trump effect.
Absolutely absurd, my God. That was from the CHIPS Act, bitch. That's from Joe Biden. I tell you what, nobody hacks like she hacks, and that's why she's our champion. Oh my God. Join us next time for another edition of Hack of the Week.
This follows trillions in other U.S. investments announced already, including $500 billion from Apple in U.S.-based manufacturing and training, $100 billion from TSMC and U.S.-based chips manufacturing, and the $500 billion private investment led by OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank in artificial intelligence infrastructure. Under President Trump, we're going to produce the cars, the ships, the chips, the airplanes, minerals, and medicines that we need right here in America at the hands of American workers. We'll see you later in the Eastern. Bye, guys.
100 days, Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating of any president in the history of modern polling.
Voters across America are weighing in saying, yes, Trump, keep going.
Give me an assessment of Trump's first 100 days, 1 to 10.
A solid 2, nothing more.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 20.
Donald Trump deserves an F.
I would give President Trump an A, maybe even an A+.
Fear and pessimism.
Thrilled and excited.
A disaster.
It's awesome. 1,361 days to go of this journey.
Man, I wish we could have 10,000, more days with President Trump.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Don't negotiate, let's investigate. We'll accelerate as we're taking